So today I'm here to talk to you about why do intranets fail. The reason I'm talking about this is because at the minute I'm living in intranet world with work. It's just every single one of our customers wants an intranet. They've gone through the transition of Teams, gone through the transition of 365, now they're coming to us saying, oh, I've heard of this thing called an intranet. Can we have one? And so we're like, yeah, okay. But before I go into it, I wanted to talk, hopefully this works, about this guy. Who knows who this guy is?
Patrick.
Patrick? You might be thinking, well, it comes to talk about intranets, why is he showing you a picture of someone from SpongeBob SquarePants? The reason I'm showing him is because Patrick is a funny character in SpongeBob. He likes to bury his head in the sand, really, and ignore what's happening around him, sort of plod along in his own little world. So I like to bring this representation up because it can represent people in your organisation, it can represent people that are in control of intranets, it can represent IT, management, anyone really in an organisation. Could be this guy here, Patrick, who's plodding along, sort of in their own little world of things. And I think it's just a great thing to think about. If you're rolling out an intranet, think about a person in your organisation that might be like this guy. Doesn't want change, doesn't like technology, doesn't understand technology, doesn't know how to use technology. Or it could be you're dealing with management as this guy that thinks, actually what we've got in place is amazing, our company is brilliant, when everyone else around them is saying, actually, no, this isn't brilliant, we're struggling. Just keep this guy in mind. Quick introduction to me. My name's Paul Dredge. Yes, I am a Newcastle fan. Going back 2 weeks ago, I would have said it's the day of my life. If anyone follows sport, then you'll know that I'm probably one of the happiest people in the world right now. I am the Building Smarter Workplaces lead at a company called Hable. We're an adoption change management company, work across all different sectors. This year I became Rockstar's MVP. I also help run the Teams Nation community, if anyone's heard of that. If you haven't, check it out online. Do monthly meetups, big events, and so on. If you want to connect to me on social media, shameless little post there of my connections, check out YouTube. I post videos now and then when I can. I've got to do the official thing of thanking the sponsors. If there's any sponsors in the room, thank you. We'll skip past this because we're strapped for time, but there's lots of sponsors. So when I do talks, I like to Google things, or Bing, as we should say in the Microsoft world of things. So I did a Bing search of what is an intranet, and apologies that the screen's so small you probably can't read it. But really, an intranet, this is the term what an intranet is, a local or restricted communications network, especially a private network created using World Wide Web software. Absolutely useless definition, but that's what you get if you put it into Bing search. Maybe Google will give me a better one, but this is what Bing gave me. None the wiser of what it is. But what an intranet is, for those who don't know, I'm sure we all know, it's a way of communicating to staff, it's a way of holding information, and so on. I'm going to ask you all a question though. What would you say an intranet is used for? Anyone?
Document storage.
Document storage?
Links to internal systems.
Links to internal systems.
Comms.
What's
on the menu in the canteen? So.
Brilliant one. Yeah, so it could be used for a vast range of things. It's interesting that people are having different opinions of things, because there is no wrong or right of what an intranet is used for. It's what's fit for your organisation. So just some examples: share organisation updates, so communications; store files, so a place you have internal files so people can access policies and so on; connect to employees; collaborative with teams across different borders within your organisation. Supposed to increase productivity. I'd love to see someone who's got an intranet that could agree with that. And then give employees a voice in their organisation. Again, something I rarely see when looking at how people are using intranets. If I look at example intranets, these are just some images, again, off Google. Probably not great examples, but this is what you tend to see when companies say, oh, can you come and help us with our intranet? Go, oh yeah, can you show me what you've got at the minute? And you look and you think, Jesus Christ, how is your organisation run with an intranet like this? I mean, this one here, I don't even know why Google has got this as an example of an intranet, because if I was in an organisation, I went into an intranet, and no, I talked about Patrick, but if I saw Dory on here, I'd feel, what the hell, what company do I work for? But there's some good examples and some not so good ones. why do intranets fail? Every organisation has an intranet, or most organisations, have an intranet. So why do they bother with intranets when we're saying they're failing? Has anyone got any ideas of why an intranet will fail?
Not maintained normally.
Not maintained.
Lack of
Don't-
interest, yeah.
Lack of interest.
Don't put the right people in place to keep it active.
Perfect.
Or findability of content.
Findability.
IT projects rather than business projects.
Yeah.
No two-way communications.
Brilliant. There's lots and lots of communication about right. Brilliant. So I did a search, and this was the results that came back around it. So the top 10 reasons is unclear governance is number 1 on the survey. Purpose unclear, we said that. Executives unengaged. Poor user experience, see that a lot. Stale, outdated content, not personalised, many sources of truth. Technical resource dependability, search didn't work, and failed deployment. So there's lots out there, and that's just the top 10. From when I speak to organisations, there's so many different opinions around an intranet. Like we go in as Hable, we go and speak to organisations, say we want to modernise how we communicate to our employees, and that's one of the key things I want to do, is modernise that communication to employees. And they say, we've got this intranet. We'll say to them, okay, have you spoke to your employees about your intranet? No. First thing you need to do, go and speak to your employees, send a little survey out about your intranet, find out what they think. Next time you speak to them, say, what did your employees say? They hate it. No one uses it. All these reasons is usually come up when you speak to them. And you think, well, why are you investing all this time? Because sometimes we see people saying, well, we've got this third-party intranet, it's coming end of life, can you just put it in SharePoint for us? Well, yeah, we can, but it's not going to work because what you've got there doesn't work, so why would you replicate what you've got into a new world of things? And that's where you've got to get smart, because obviously we all know COVID's happened, the last 2 years have been really a change for organisations, and what we've seen with organisations is they've gone from maybe hardly any online resources to using Teams, and really not using Teams in a good way, I'll say, to then using other third-party things maybe, and so on. But there's that gap. There's that gap of that communication in your organisation of how you're talking to people, how you're keeping up to date on things. And these are some stats I stole from Microsoft around needing to engage with people. It's more than critical now, because you need that engagement to your staff. People feel isolated past 2 years. As people are starting to come back to the office, those that aren't going to be coming back to the office again are going to feel more isolated, because the people in the office are going to be involved in that communication, going to be hearing what's happening, and so on. So this is why I think it's really important now to have a look. Has anyone heard of Viva Connections before? Yeah. Brilliant. So Viva Connections is Microsoft's answer to modernising your communication. This isn't the sole answer, in my opinion. It's not the sole answer, because Connections, fantastic. Microsoft have done a magnificent marketing campaign on this, because Viva Connections is SharePoint. But they're not saying it's SharePoint. To an organisation who hates SharePoint or have got bad experience with SharePoint, they're still saying, well, this Viva Connections looks good. I want to try it out. Well, yeah, it's SharePoint, but it's just got a shiny little logo at the top. But when we look at it, it's not just about using Viva Connections or using SharePoint. It's about how you're using what else is around it. So for me, and if you asked me 2 years ago, I would never say this, but Yammer. Yammer is key now for organisations. And it's really important to look at Yammer. It's like a bit of a murky word really in the Microsoft world of things, because there was rumours that it was going to be dropped. Then it sort of had a bit of development over the past probably 2 years actually. And for me, I used to hate Yammer. I used to be like, why would anyone use Yammer? It's awful. Why would you use it? But now I'm embedded in my own organisation of using Teams. I'm like, this just shouldn't be happening in Teams. So many conversations and things that are happening in Teams is the same across lots of organisations that really shouldn't be happening in Teams. Because for me, Teams is that place of work. I go into Teams because I want to get on with a project. I want to look at who I'm working with in my team. I want to concentrate on what I'm working on. I don't want someone to tag a whole channel with hundreds of people in and say, cakes in the kitchen. Or, well, not that now because we're working from home, but some random message like that. It happens all the time in Hable. And it's one of my biggest frustrations is like, why are we putting this sort of communication through our place of work? Because there you are working away in your team channels, all of a sudden, oh, you've been mentioned in a message. You go to the notification, come out of your work, and then all of a sudden you're there in some social thing like, oh, who wants to join a book club? Oh, why? You've just disrupted me. It's now going to take me time to get back into it. And that's where I think Yammer comes in. So the communities, there's loads of updates happening around Yammer. Only yesterday I read they're starting to have organisation Yammer ones that can be classified, that you can actually say is our organisation Yammer community that everyone should be a part of, and so on. But then what Viva Connections does, it also brings in things like dashboards. So Viva Dashboards it's been talked about since like March time, but only in the past month you've been actually able to go into it and start using it. So Dashboards allows you to create a dashboard that has links, apps, integration with different elements of 365, but also third-party applications. But what I love about Viva, and this is what I pitch to customers, is that you can personalize it on a user's experience. Yes, you can do that in SharePoint, and it's been in SharePoint for a while, but Viva allows you to do just that by surfacing that information. And I think that's what the key thing is to make an intranet successful is clear navigation, make sure people know where they're going. When they land on that homepage, it should be personalised to them. What they should see is relevant to them. If I'm in IT, I don't want to know what HR are doing. If I'm in IT, I don't want to know what's happening in some other department in my organisation. I want to go into them and find out what's happening in IT. So it should be bespoke to what that person wants to hear. And you can do that with Viva. You can really surface that information. Just going to skip through if my slides will work. Big thing, culture and communications. I know, I've got time, that's right. I heard clap, so I was thinking, that's supposed to be the end of the time, but no. So culture and communications is what you can really surface within here. But like I said, it's not just about that intranet, because I think an intranet isn't an intranet anymore. It's everything else that goes around it. It's that modern communication. So it's things like Insights, it's things like Teams, things like Yammer, things like bringing in some of the other aspects of what you can do for adaptive cards and so on like that. So it's really, for me, that Viva is like a landing portal where you can access all the different things. And I think that's where people need to get out of that, we'll build you an intranet. It's no, I wouldn't even use the word intranet. It's modern communication hub, and I think that's what people need. If you've not set up Viva before, there are some things you need to do. So I've just listed some of the dependencies for what you need to do. So SharePoint admin permissions, Teams admin permissions. It needs to be a modern SharePoint communication site. Global navigation needs to be enabled. SharePoint home site needs to be configured. And then access to the SharePoint online management shell. So there is some of those dependencies that are needed. And then I can share these slides afterwards if anyone wants to know. I think everyone in here kind of knows how to set it up and so on. I have got a quick run through, but what I'm going to do is just going to skip through some of this. So this is what makes this new world good, because you land in here and what you'll see at the top here is relevant to you. It's not relevant to the person sat next to you, it's what's targeted to you. You can really have a look, and the mobile experience is really key as well. So this mobile experience for frontline workers is going to have a massive impact, because a lot of organisations I speak to, they say, yeah, we've got an intranet. It's a good intranet, but we're only engaging with 60% of our employees because they're frontline workers. They don't have access to a device. When they open up our intranet on their device, it's all out of proportion, it doesn't look right, and so on. Whereas bringing in the Dashboards app on your mobile device, real easy to look through, real easy to find that information. So let's skip through some of this. But you can see how simple it is to navigate through, keep that through. I'm sure these slides end in a minute. There we go. I'm not going to say thank you yet. But what I want to hear is, what do you think an intranet needs? Because I'd love to hear people talk about what you think needs to be in that new world of intranets, or new world of communication hubs. Has anyone got?
I think it's interesting that you talk about technology, but how many of those 10 issues that you talked about at the beginning are actually solved by new tech? Not a huge number.
No.
This is the first point. And then just building on your Yammer point, what you can see with the topics is going to introduce Q&A from RC experts, and that information is going to be surfaced from Yammer. So suddenly Yammer gets an integration to part of a new world.
Yes.
So suddenly Yammer becomes a little bit more important again.
Yes.
Because for many organisations we can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see how that pans out and how actually what the quality of that looks like.
Yeah. The comment you made there about not solved by technology is key. So if an organisation is looking at launching a new intranet or modern communication, comms around it and getting people adopted and wanting to use it is the key element here, because IT can go and roll out this that we talked about, but it's never going to be successful unless you've got buy-in of people, which is really where the change management side of things needs to come into play. You need to make it desirable and for people to actually want to use it. What's in it for them? So what's in it for Janet who's in HR? What does she want to use it for? What's in it from Dave who works in IT? I'm using random names here, apologies. But what's in it for those people? Why would they want to go on the intranet? Why would they want to take time out of their day to look in there? And that's the key thing, is trying to think, that's what we need to crack around the world of intranets, is why would they click onto it? Why would they go into it? Or if they do click into it and go into it, what are they going to get from going into it? They don't want to be presented with, like I said earlier on, they don't want to be presented with that standard type of thing that everyone sees. So it's really clear to make sure that everyone in an organisation really knows the purpose of it. So I said, unclear governance. So what is the purpose of it? Not just, oh, we've got a new intranet, it looks really good, it looks nice, but what are we going to use it for? There's loads of things you can do, so I've seen real good things with Power Apps bringing into it as well. So something we've been doing is actually policies. If you put some policies onto an intranet and you say to people, our new policies are up there, go and read them. How many people actually go and read those policies? How many people forget to go and check them? Well, you can create like a real simple Power App that sits on a page which is policies, and they can go in, click, oh yeah, I've read them, tick it off. But what you can do in the background around that is actually create an automated process that says, if these people on this list haven't done it, send them a little notification, send them a little Teams chat, send them an email, however way you communicate, just to notify them. Say, look, we told you last week, we've got some new policies out, have you checked them, have a quick read, here's a link.
I can't believe Microsoft haven't done that yet, because
Yeah.
every partner's written that app. That's included.
Exactly that. There's stuff out there that isn't, it's notifying. It's things like webhooks. A lot of work has been done around webhooks that push information into Teams. So when you get a new article on your intranet, have it post a little message into Teams. Like if you've got like an organisation one or Yammer, if you've got an organisation Yammer, say, here's a new news article, click here to access it, takes them to it. It's pushing that information in front of them to start with, to get that adoption, and then they start thinking, well, actually, some cool stuff in this intranet world of things, isn't there? Let's go and have a look and see what it is.
And even something simple like you showed there, which is integrated with Teams. Most people are going to go into Teams first thing,
Yeah.
whereas they're not necessarily going to open a web browser. And
Yeah, exactly that.
are they?
I mean, taken away from intranet side of things, in Hayward, we work with customers who build real good guides, step-by-steps how to do things and stuff like that. What we found though, no one was ever consuming them. Organisations would pay thousands of pounds for these nice user guides, which would then be buried away in their SharePoint or wherever it is, and you'd see it on there, you'd be like, well, no one's looked at it. We did a simple, way before Viva was out, we did a thing of actually tagging in a SharePoint site on that left navigation, and then, like I said, it's bringing it into Teams. We saw an organisation went from 2,000 hits to one SharePoint page with the guides on to 40,000 hits in a matter of weeks. Just because it's there, it's like, oh, there's a button there, what's that? Oh, user guides, oh, I didn't know we had all these. And it's just bringing that information. That's the same with what Viva Connections is really doing. It's just bringing that information to people to see.
There's a session in here today at 3:30 where I'm going to be showing how clients have actually deployed Viva Connections in the last couple of months
Cheers, thank you.
to deliver some of the things that you've been talking about. So if you're thinking about how is this actually applying to businesses, catch that session.
Brilliant. I thought I was running over because there's a lot of noise going on there, but I have finished up. Managed to rush through that quite quickly. But if anyone's got any questions or anything, feel free to ask. But thanks guys for coming in. I'm glad I wasn't speaking to myself because about 2 minutes before you all arrived, I was sat there thinking there's no one here. So I'm going to turn that to sit instead of just talking to myself. But thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day.
Interesting.
Cheers.